Locate your most up-to-date version of the Push Color Notes device and drag and drop it into its own MIDI track. Once loaded, the device should automatically change the colors and the MIDI layout on your Push controller. If not, it may not have recognized the push or may not have loaded in active mode. If so, simply click Find Push Buttons and Activate buttons on the device within the live window. Once the Push Color Notes is activated, we can return to and toggle between Push One's native note display by clicking the Activate button. This is also the default position 1 on the control dials of Push when live is focused on the Push Color Notes. To see and hear the device work properly, we need to navigate in live to another MIDI track, preferably one with an instrument on it. Here we'll be using a piano. But in order to keep the controls of the Push Color Notes displayed on the push, they need to be locked to the controller first. Right-click the blue hand on the Push Color Notes device in live, and then from the drop-down menu, select Lock to Control Surface. Push. Navigate to another MIDI track and start playing the color pads on the Push One. You should see them start to light up and produce audible notes in live. Activating the second dial on the Push controller will bring up a pop-up to tell you what the last note played is. The third control on the Push dials is a MIDI in, pre or post effects. When set to post effects, if there is a MIDI effect in the live instrument track, the Push Color Notes will display the MIDI being generated by that effect. This is quite a useful way to visualize an arpeggiator or chord device. And you can experiment by dropping devices from Live's MIDI menu onto the instrument track in question. The fourth dial sets the display mode between showing the flats and the sharps. You currently need to manually select between the sharps and flats to best match the scale you are using, but I am working on an update that will automatically display all the correct colours and names of notes for all scales, including those pesky harmonic minor scales that use sharps and flats. The fifth dial on the control sets the octave of the bottommost leftmost note on the Push controller. This is also settable by using the octave up and down buttons on the right bank of buttons on the Push. The sixth control sets the root note of the in-scale key or chromatic bass at the bottom left corner. You will see all the notes change colour, either moving left or right as you turn the controller up and down. The seventh rotary control sets the scale in the in-scale mode. Push dial controls 5, 6 and 7 for this device are completely separate from the octave scale and key controls in Push native note functions, although they do replicate the same job. But if you change the scale, key or octave in Push Color Notes, it will not affect the native scale, key and octave settable on Push. The layout of the notes in in-scale mode is identical to the layout of Push 1's native note display. We can play a scale left to right through the notes in scale sequence, or we can play the controller in rows of 3. The layout of the notes in chromatic mode is also the same as Push's native chromatic mode, in that we can sequentially play up the chromatic scale by semitone by playing the next pad to the right, and that pad above the one being played is always a perfect fourth higher. The order of the lights, however, is different. Unlike Push's native mode, which uses scales to denote which of the lights are on and off in chromatic mode, Push Color Notes always lights up the natural notes, or the white notes from the piano, so that it remains understandable and usable for reading music from the figure note system. And we can toggle between chromatic and in scale mode by using the 8th dial at the top of the Push controller.